mean, a woman who's so accomplished
Right.
and still can't hold a man.
Yeah.
तो मतलब मर्दों को चाहिए क्या? Nobody knows.
What do men want? They're so difficult and
Yeah.
mysterious. Welcome to The Best Parts, the show where we get into the heads of the characters we love by speaking with the people who brought them to life. If you watch the film Tribhanga, the film tells you exactly how intention, instinct, the idea of independence manifests between mothers and daughters, and the love and the scarring that it reveals. To discuss Anu from Tribhanga and the idea of any kind of mother in a storm, I'm thrilled to welcome Renuka Shahane to our studios. Renuka, welcome to The Best Parts. Thank you so
Hello.
much. We've been waiting for you.
No, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, I'm so excited.
और मैं टेढ़ी मेढ़ी crazy but sexy Tribhanga.
First and most obvious question, sorry, get it out of the way. We know your mother is the incredible writer Shanta
Yeah.
Gokhale. So does that make you the passionate, potty-mouthed, fantastic character Anu?
I wish I were Anu. Actually, she's a person I would like to be.
Okay.
Because I'm not unfiltered. Anu is.
Yes.
I'm extremely filtered. I'm extremely, kind. Even when I say the harshest things, I try to be kind about it. And Anu is not like that at all. So it's actually an alter ego I would have loved to be. But somehow parts of me don't agree with that, idea of a person.
But were you always, did you always have a filter or did you learn to get one?
I have always had a filter.
Okay.
In fact, and in fact, much more, I have come out with a lot of my opinions only after I went to college.
Okay.
Before that, I was such a people pleaser.
Really?
Yeah. You could almost call me a yes person. Because I wanted relationships with people.
Okay.
And you must be aware that my mom, and dad divorced when I was 8. So that was something which was very difficult for me. Not because of the atmosphere at home. My mom and dad were great,
Right.
Very amicable, and dad would come around and we used to meet very often. He would be at all our birthdays and, something that maybe other dads from the conventional families might not also have been.
Right.
But
Yeah, but that's amazing.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So life at home was so pleasant. And then suddenly the experience of conservative society, a part of which we were since we were living in Shivaji Park, and the school we went to, and that suddenly hit me,
Right.
And I have always been a very social person. So people were important to me.
Right.
I was never a loner So the only way one could have friends perhaps is not stand out. Because I was already standing out because of my
Understood, yes.
situation.
Yeah.
So I learned not to say, not to say something which would put the spotlight on me. And so for a very long time, I actually didn't find my voice. Always had this wide smile, even when I had braces. A lot of people got offended with that.
What?
That itna braces laga ke hasne ka kya matlab hai? Because it's an aberration, you see.
No, we have
Keep
to have
it
a
to
conversation
yourself.
about this at some point of time. You know,
What?
this whole conversation about women and beauty,
Yeah, exactly. So, and I was grinning away to glory, with all my
Yeah.
teeth in steel.
Straight 14, 15, you've got like baseball bats and windscreens. You know what I'm saying? At least theoretically,
Yeah,
or you
yeah,
wish,
yeah.
That is very sophisticated.
Yeah,
But I
so
can- maybe you
it's
matured
like an
quicker
out-of-body experience, when you have, because you're just experiencing life actually at that age. You're not really thinking of life.
Right.
You're experiencing it. And there are some things that are happening that are beyond your control,
Right.
which have nothing to do with you.
That's beautiful. Yes.
And so when you have that feeling that, yes, you can be judged for something that you have nothing to do with,
right.
and people are not looking at you just as a human being or not reacting to you just as what you are, but from a lot of prejudices and societal biases. And then you know that, okay, this is how one has to navigate.
You know, when you first see Anu, she's getting ready for her Odyssey recital. And, you know, it is a dance form that, you know, it looks like it's just stepped out from those classical temple sculptures.
It is,
And she's all dressed up and then she takes out her packet of cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
And it's the perfect introduction to her.
आई क्या मैंने डिसाइड किया था ना कि मैं तुम्हारी प्रेगनेंसी में सिगरेट नहीं पीऊंगी तो ट्रस्ट मी आई वोंट लेकिन पकड़ने में क्या हर्ज है
There are facets to her personality. She has will, she has willpower, she has an acceptance of her own flaws. But I'm also going to assume you were not scared of ruffling any feathers culturally. Like, oh my God, like, how dare you?
Not really. I mean, if she had smoked, I would have ruffled a lot of feathers because, you know, or any Odissi dance. I mean, for them, it's something that
sacred.
is performed in temples basically,
Right.
and then now it's come on to platforms. But you still maintain the fact that it is actually a devotion to God.
Right.
So Krishna in this case.
Correct.
So the Odissi dancers in the audience definitely must have sat up and, you know, hoped that she didn't smoke, and she didn't. So, but that was for another reason.
Correct. Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's just a lovely way of just going, there we go, you know. And, you know, Anu, immediately you get the idea that she's angry a lot. And of course, we all are angry, right?
Yeah.
But there is a research that shows that emotional neglect, physical or psychological abuse and all, when you're experiencing it in childhood, it does result in children with, in adults with anger issues. So now my question is she just garden variety woman angry or does she have anger issues? You know, like, would you say that she has anger issues?
I would say she doesn't have anger issues as such. I would say that she doesn't care about what people think, which is a very liberating thing. And once you do that, then your real self can come through. And your real self is unfiltered. Like I said, my alter ego very often wants to curse, wants to give it back.
Right.
You know?
But then you also always see, the thing is, I'll tell you what the difference is, and this is something that I've been thinking about, because I'm not saying I identify with Anu, but like, you know, there is you can, it's very tempting, it's very attractive,
It is
her way of
attractive,
behaving. Is that also then you have to have a lot of energy dealing with the consequences of that behavior.
Yes.
When you're strategic and you're sophisticated, you get your point across. And also the other person's not coming at you with a knife after that. You know, sometimes you get into a fight and the person has doubled up in size and you're like, oh God, you got out of the car, you're way bigger than I am, you know.
True.
But emotionally. So she has that energy. She's unfiltered,
she has that energy.
but she has the energy to engage.
Absolutely. And she has, you know, she was a rebel first when she came out and talked about her life. And, you know, it's like one of those Savvy magazine moments where your life is an open book and you write all the cuss words you feel about everybody in society. So she's done it all, you know. And I'm sure in her past, like, I mean, there was a scene which is not included in the film where her posters were burnt and her face is blackened, and she's gone through
so she's
that.
hardened.
It didn't find you know, a place in the film, unfortunately. But yeah, so she's gone through all that, you know, that blackening of
she's a tough cookie.
She's
basically
a tough cookie, and she now thrives on that toughness. She doesn't mind being called notorious. She would rather not be. She would feel uncomfortable if she is neglected or if she's not noticed.
Also, I think once your reputation precedes you like that, you probably save a lot of time.
Yeah,
people
exactly.
are probably like, I'm not going to mess with this one.
Yeah, like people are saying that the notorious actress. So obviously you're going to. It's a,
it's like
so, I've behaved the way you've described me, and so what's new?
So you used to spend 10 years fighting with people, and then they'll treat you really with a big with like.
Chalo,
it's like a plan.
Yeah.
ये शाम का वक्त मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता. I hate twilight.
दिवे लागनी चाहिए.
You know, she very casually says, I hate Twilight, okay? And for some reason, that really affected me. It's very casually placed, and it's really heavy if you also hate Twilight. And, you know, I used to think that there's some like ancient instinct that creeps in at Twilight. Because, you know, animals and the birds, they start returning home. And there's like some weird melancholy, like it feels weird. And also there's a psychological phenomenon called sundowner depression. Which manifests with elderly patients a lot, where they start showing distress and anxiety and those kinds of symptoms. And if you think about it, for women, you're
Yeah.
always told, come home before it's dark.
Right,
Okay,
right,
so there's
right.
that old fear
Yeah.
and there's a modern fear as well.
Correct.
So tell me,
Yeah.
what is the significance of Twilight for you?
You know, twilight for me is an in-between time. You don't see that at dawn because you're not,
You're not-
awake.
you're not usually awake. Yeah.
Unless you get up at 5,
Or you've been up
you're
the
not
previous-
experiencing that, you
Yeah.
know. And somehow the dawn always comes with that sunrise.
Yeah.
After twilight, there is no sun. It's all, electricity.
Right.
So that space is some place, and also that might be the time when you are maybe alone at home, and then you go out later at night. But twilight is a place where you have to deal with your own thoughts, is the way I look at it. That Anu, surrounded by people, doing things, activities is fine. But if she's at home where there's the sun going down, then that is a point where it really hits her.
That's so weird
Yeah.
because you're absolutely right. Because you'd have work or whatever up to a
Yeah,
point, and
yeah.
then you're right. There is
Yeah.
that. It's
In
almost
between
scary
space.
to be
Yeah, yeah,
alone.
alone.
You're like alone in the world, almost in the universe.
Correct. Yeah. Even the sun's left you.
It is. Yeah, there is a
Yeah,
restlessness
yeah,
to
yeah.
it. To be with your own thoughts for her would be
Right.
something.
Yeah.
You get the impression that she's
Yeah.
constantly running away.
Yeah,
from...
and she's constantly reacting. When she's alone, she goes back. She still has nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not a space that she's actually, dealt with.
No, it's like a
Emotionally.
moment of vulnerability
Yes,
for
yes,
her.
yes.
Wow.
Nayan! Dibe lao!
When she witnesses her grandmother yell at her mum for being too distracted to put on the lights
Yeah.
at that time, right? You can feel that it's a moment of like one woman policing another woman for failing to acknowledge the reality of the world. It's like you can think whatever you are,
Yeah,
but the world
but-
is X.
Yeah.
And what the world expects from us. as well.
Absolutely.
So, that is also a twilight moment,
Yeah,
right?
it is. It is.
It's in the same space
Yeah.
that she knows that there is a sense
Yeah.
of that distress at that time.
Right, right.
Do you think it comes from that time? Do you think that?
I don't know. I think Anu is that way pretty selfish, I would say. I don't think that she transfers that kind of learning from
What
her
she's
childhood
okay.
with her granny.
Okay.
Because her granny, for her, in that sense, the association is always with a very healthy childhood.
Right.
A
yeah,
place
the
where
correct
nobody
maternal
is,
figure.
nobody is looking down at you for not being, conventional or
Correct.
not.
Yeah. Okay.
And not being alone also.
Right.
She's with her
With her-
baba and
Yeah,
her
yeah.
granny and her brother, and
Okay.
everything is fine at that time for her. Looking back later, she might appreciate the fact that her mom's left that place because
Right.
she's nothing like that place.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, if she had lived with her granny and
She
her
would have
father
had a
and in
nervous
a-
breakdown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She would have really had a difficult
Yeah.
life because obviously she's not from that space. She's much more Nayan's daughter, actually.
She
than
is.
her,
She is. It's almost like it skipped a generation in
fathers.
some
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Anuradha, your surname is Apte and your father Joshi. Why is that?
So when Anu is being teased in school because
Yeah.
her parents are divorced and her mother has changed her surname, okay?
Yeah.
Now this is the conundrum that the mother has to face,
Right.
Right? This is
Yeah.
the guilt because she wants to live by her beliefs. She
Yes.
has to.
Yes.
And the beliefs are as much about her own identity as well as her children's well-being. It's a
Absolutely.
tight balance.
Yes.
But the children are also suffering because she's refusing to live in the box.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, it is such a, as a mum, it's really hard. Like, how does she
Yeah.
resolve that feeling?
Very often, and I know this of women who are extremely intelligent, me included,
Yeah.
I would put myself in that
Yeah.
position, that there are certain decisions that you take thinking that this will be best for, logically and intellectually, you think of it.
Yeah.
And you actually don't go into the emotional impact very often because you are so used to
That
thinking
rational,
cerebrally
Yeah.
that you don't go into the emotional impact because you are trying to actually control your emotions also. You feel emotions are irrational. Thinking is equal to rational behavior.
कि जिन बच्चों को मैंने जन्म दिया है, जिनका पालन पोषण पूरी तरह से मैं कर रही थी, जिनके पिता का योगदान वीर्य के अलावा कुछ भी नहीं था, वो मेरे नाम से क्यों नहीं जाने जाए?
So that's exactly it. That she's so, in her head space, that for her the heart and that whole thing and the children and their suffering emotionally just doesn't reach her. So in some ways, she is not able to think of all the aspects before taking that decision. So it's a great krantikari decision for her to
Right,
take.
exactly.
And of course, it is something that completely goes along with the way she thinks.
Right.
And the way she would want other people also to think.
Right, yeah.
Which is fine.
The way she'd want her own daughter to behave in her adulthood.
Exactly.
Right? But it's
And
so-
she's setting an example.
Exactly.
But it backfires when you are going out into a community which is not
not
that
ready for that.
ready, and you are spending 8 hours of your day in a place like that. So you
instead
can't
of it
change the
becoming
world
empowering,
overnight.
in fact, it kind of traumatizes you.
Yes. And that's a very, that hits you in the gut at that age, because you are not capable of understanding. You're not capable of saying to your teacher that, you're a fool.
Yeah.
My mother knows better.
You couldn't possibly do it also.
You can't, because you think teachers know everything, basically. And especially at that time.
Yeah, and
Not
that-
now so
yeah.
much, but at that time when there was no social media, no Google, no internet, nothing.
And nobody got divorced.
Nobody, yeah, exactly.
If there was a divorce it was like that the Palu drops in the village sort of
Right,
situation. If somebody
right.
got divorced, that was
Yeah,
like, oh
yeah.
my God, she's a hoe.
Totally.
एक बहुत ही कंजर्वेटिव कम्युनिटी में हमारा परिवार अलग थलग था. हमारे दो तो थे, लेकिन हम दो यानी विमल और मैं, और हमारे दो यानी अनु और रोबिन.
I'm obsessed with this idea that some
Yeah.
of us suffer because we are in the wrong place or the wrong time
Yeah,
for our
yeah.
ideas or our gender
Yeah.
identity or whatever it is. And
True.
Nayan does say that we were an unconventional family in a very conservative space.
That's right.
And you can feel that today
Yeah.
when we haven't moved an inch. We could just be here and everything
Yeah.
has changed politically, culturally, at home and in public,
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel it's quite scary because we might inadvertently raise our kids to be at total odds with the developing zeitgeist, right? So then how do you make peace with that? Because you can only raise them the way you know how to raise them.
Yeah, you have to raise them the way you know how to raise them. And, just hope that they will find some people who may be like-minded or appreciative or understanding, and just hope for that. And
Yeah, or
keep
they'll-
yourself in the conversation.
Keep
See,
yourself
the
in the
problem
conversation,
is
yeah.
that Nayan cuts herself off from Anu, almost as if I've come back to my house. That's my space. I can do my writing and kids will be fine.
This is very important. This is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand. This is
Yeah.
correct. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Because if she had continued, then
Exactly.
you can say she's indoctrinating the child into her own belief systems.
Yes. You sometimes feel that, I am the example. I'm living the example I want
yeah,
to set.
yeah.
But sometimes you have to talk
have
about
to
it.
have
You have to
conversations.
understand
Yeah.
a perspective which is completely different.
Right.
It's possible that she's Vinayak's daughter.
Regional and cultural nuances that manifest as characters in the characters and mark them as unique, even like I may not identify, but I resonate.
Right.
And
Yes.
it's broad brush always, of
Yeah.
course. But there's a thing, the Punjabi woman's feistiness, for
Right,
example, it's
right.
lovely. Okay,
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
Bengali woman's sense of independence,
Yeah.
which is very particular.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I will you stop me on the road, and the first thing that comes out of my mouth is, remember, Rani of Jhansi was a Maratha. Y'all imported our girl. You know what I'm saying? So, but humor aside, is there anything that you would be comfortable in saying that is inherent in the Maharashtrian woman's identity at large, in the way we raise our kids, or
Yeah,
the way our
I
men?
would definitely say that, because I'm married into a family which is extremely educated. All the women are educated in my
right.
family. And yet I can see that their culture is not as progressive as Maharashtrian women are.
Right.
Inherently,
We are quite progressive,
Yeah,
right?
we are progressive, especially in terms of education
And working.
and working.
Yeah.
And even equality at home, I would
Yes.
say, is
Yeah.
much more than the inherently, patriarchal
Yeah.
mindset. That's I mean, it's gone. Of course, I don't see it in my house because everybody's voice is respected, whether you're a man or a woman. But that convention, na, कि मर्द तो ऐसे ही होते हैं, औरत, that is still talked of, you know. And I'm like, no, let's go beyond that. There are so many shades. Only lacuna, I feel, I don't know whether it's Maharashtra now, but I would say, since I travel all over the country, is that we have, we are concentrating so much on how to bring up our daughters that we've completely ignored how to bring up our sons. And I have two. So there is that inherent privilege which still exists.
So Virginia Woolf said, a woman must have money and a room of her own if she is to write fiction.
Yes. Nayan for me is a reflection of that.
And also women of that generation actually didn't often. And I would add one more thing. I would say a woman also needs another woman in service if she wants to write. It is impossible to do it any other way. And
that's true.
To some extent, Nayan's mother-in-law seems to resent having to be that woman.
Yeah.
You know, and you can see, but Anu, she at that time knows this intuitively. Yeah. She offers to bring her little brother milk as the mother's writing, and it's what the internet calls the eldest daughter's burden. Right. So now help me resolve this question, all right? Now, everyone knows a woman has to run 2 races to win the same marathon a man has run, right? And I've often said this now, like, I believe every mother actually needs a wife.
You
know? But if you don't have that, and, you know, your daughter often sees the struggle and wants to facilitate you, you know, foolishly. And it is... Then, now what I want to know is it the mother's responsibility, firstly, to make sure she doesn't lean too hard on the daughter? Or if the mother then gives up her dreams, which is the other extreme, then does she lean on her daughter to fulfill those dreams by proxy? Or then even worse, she directs her resentment at the daughter. So what I'm saying is we are doomed to fail. Because this is what you're seeing with Anu and with Masha and with Nayan. Because Nayan has, like you said, if she's kind of stopped the conversation after she did the big break, then Anu has become something. She's a super success. But Masha, you don't see her having any sense of self.
She's a people pleaser like me.
Right.
You see.
And she's come from 2
very strong women.
Ladies,
but that,
you know.
A Masha can exist only after such a,
she has the luxury of letting herself be.
A Masha can exist if you have a papa who calls her a princess and brings her up like as a princess. That is also a situation where you can have a Masha.
Yeah, because I don't know, like, how do you, like, where does yourself, you know, a lot of women say, oh, you know, when the kids are bigger, I'll go back to work. When the kids are bigger, I'll write my book.
Right,
you know? And then suddenly the children are older and you can't know where the pen is.
You can't write. It's happened to me.
Like take
when the kids
take
grow
the pen,
up,
give me
I
a
do
bottle
this
of wine instead. You know?
It's taken me a very long time to write Tribhanga, I think, basically because I was in such a mom space and I just did not give myself the time to write. And even today, I feel like Virginia Woolf if I had a room of my own. Because unfortunately for a writer, it's something you can do at home. And I find it so amazing that a lot of men writers are constantly going away to write to Khandala, Lonavala, wherever, you know, I'm not saying retreat. And I'm saying, wow, you can just be in the house and, you know, it's your own retreat. You're like an island. And you'll be treated like that by everybody else. So, and yet I find very few female writers who kind of, you know, decide that they want to go to a retreat. What do you say? Do you think that that's
I've been dreaming about a retreat for years. I won't even write. The question then becomes about balancing your ambitions, not developing resentment with the people who are thwarting your ambitions at the same time. And then there's all this conversation about how a working mom is really good for children. To watch that.
She is good because it does make the children more independent and, you know, be able to navigate.
And you don't resent them also so much. Then you're not, you know, you're not like, what have you done? What are you doing? You know?
And your ambition is not your children, basically.
Correct.
So and you meet other people, you know, for the longest time after I became a mother, I didn't have adult conversation. I got so used to that that I craved.
I cannot imagine you doing that. Speaking about mothers and daughters, of course, Enid Blyton, her legacy has been really tarnished by, all the racism and stuff like that. But, you know, I do want to talk about how each child has a different relationship with the same mother. Like Enid Blyton has 2 daughters, and they had 2 very different ideas of what their mother was like. So her elder daughter, Gillian Bavistock, said in an interview, she was a fair and loving mother and a fascinating companion. But the younger child, who was also growing up at the same time as her mother was beginning to get very famous, she said the truth is Enid Blyton was arrogant, insecure, pretentious, very skilled at putting difficult or unpleasant things out of her mind. I think she's talking about the kid herself, and without a trace of maternal instinct. And as a child, I viewed her as a rather strict authority. As an adult, I did not hate her. I pitied her, which is like so depressing to hear your kids
very
say
sad.
they pity you. Yeah,
Very sad.
and so that comes. Rabindra is much more forgiving of his mother than Anu is. How
But
does
not really. I would say that he has, in fact, given her a blow of the kind that Anu would never be able to, because she believes in atheism. She's an atheist, and he becomes a Krishna Bhakt. So intellectually, he has rejected her views.
that's the-
Anu has not intellectually rejected. She has lived her lives on her own term, which is what Nayan wanted her to do.
Correct.
In a way, you think that he's very gentle and very able to gracefully accept.
Yeah. Oh,
but
this is his
intellectually,
rejection,
yes,
his
it is a
rebellion.
rejection of his mother that he has.
But do you think Anu sees it as that?
No,
Does she
not at
know?
all. Anu doesn't intellectualize her relationships, especially not with Robindro.
Correct.
Robindro and Masha,
Is-
both,
yeah, they are her
are like,
team.
they're just things that Masha is something that she bore. She's like a part of her.
Yeah.
And Robindro is the child that she never bore, but
Yeah.
yes, he's a part of her.
So, but
All
if you
this.
have like an antagonistic relationship with your mother, okay, and your younger sibling, suppose, has had a slightly different relationship, because
Right.
also very often eldest daughters take on this role of submom.
Yes, she
So they
is,
kind of like, they kind of raise this person
Yes,
or
yes,
whatever.
yes,
So
yes.
if you have anger against your mother for some
Right,
reason, because you
right.
feel your mother didn't do X, Y, Z,
Yeah.
and your sibling, who you've pretty much taken care of, protected, is like, "Oh, she was a nice mother." Like, really, honestly
Yeah,
speaking,
yeah.
that's very annoying.
Yeah.
And
Anu would say, no, she's not.
she would, right?
Yeah.
But is she
She'd say
conscious
she
of that?
isn't.
Yeah.
And how dare you say it?
How dare you say
Robindro? Iske baad abhi you're not supposed to say this in front of me and not believe it either. So Anu is
Yeah.
the person who has no qualms about imposing her opinions on to her loved ones, because she wants her loved ones to be her people.
Be loyal.
Yeah,
She's
loyal.
like, she's like a mafia
that.
boss.
Yeah,
rather than-
exactly.
yeah.
Tiger sort of situation. You know?
कभी कभी सोचती हूँ काश ये मेरे किरदार होते, फिर मैं उन्हें अपनी मनचाही दिशा में ले जाती, फिर वो मुझसे प्यार करते।
But Nayan says, I wish they were characters I'd written. Then I could have molded them in any way I wished. And we know how that feels, But if Anu had heard this,
Right.
would she have taken it as a rejection?
She would definitely have added it to
Her list.
her list of what was wrong with her mother. Because for her, Masha, she definitely, till the point when she gets to know about this test that Masha has done,
Right.
is like, my Masha, for her, I'll do anything. But even there's a line even there that she draws, that this is just
This is
too
too
much.
much. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing with yourself? So, I think that
it's like, I guess,
it's
it is.
just that long list would have just become longer, with Nayan's thing. Because what do you mean by mold?
Yeah. And like, I'm not good the way I am.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what-
And I was
That's what
good.
the statement is.
You made me this.
Correct. Yeah.
And now you reject me
Yeah,
for what I've
that's
become.
what it is, yeah.
You know?
So when you see Anu standing over Nayan in the coma right in the beginning, okay, and she's saying, she's talking to her, you put me through hell and whatever. It's very resonant with like a, it's a kind of a teenage angsty thing that we're doing.
Yes.
At that time, you think that. But you don't realize that, she wasn't angry with Nayan only for all of that. Basically, what happened to Nayan was one of the deepest fears I know most single mothers face, is that you bring a sexual predator into your house.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
in that respect, Anu is justified.
Yeah,
It is not,
totally.
see, the thing is the anger is justified, but the blame, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, how do you resolve that? It is quite a frightening moment. There's nothing like,
Yeah. But, why I feel that both are justified is because um, as an adult, you have the power to stop everything in the house.
yeah.
You are the person who is supposed to be the
Yeah, the
protector,
onus is on you.
and it's only your complete absorption with yourself that has stopped you from seeing these signs. I mean, you're an aware, educated, feminist
Yeah.
woman. And, your own personal, yes, I mean, you get married and you get divorced and you can have 5 marriages and 5 divorces. It wouldn't have affected her that much.
No, this is not.
This is something
this is
that
very serious.
is terrible.
Yeah.
And
if it
nobody to
came-
lean on
Yeah,
at
if
that
it comes
time.
from self-absorption.
Yeah.
Congratulations, नयन।
थैंक यू
तुम्हारी लेखनी के क्या कहने? आज हर साहित्य सम्मेलन में इन्हीं की चर्चा है।
क्या बात है नैन?
थैंक यू
तुम बस अपनी कलम की स्याही को सूखने मत देना।
Also, but see, the thing with Vinayak is when he comes home, for example, okay, he tells his mother, you stop complaining, okay?
Yeah.
Then he's brought Nayan flowers.
Yeah.
And even in that scene where she's surrounded by her admirers
Yeah.
because she's, he's there. He's
there.
not like
Yeah.
throwing a fit, okay?
Yeah.
And men are not usually like kind of comfortable with that outside world
Yes, of
kudos and
course.
outside world success. So he's not a
Yeah.
bad guy.
Not at all.
But
not
you
at
know,
all.
he is riding that
Yeah.
privilege, like male
Of
privilege
course,
wave. Like
yeah.
he's coasting along.
He doesn't want to
Yeah.
go beyond that.
No.
And that's funny. Like, you come home and you have such a beautiful relationship with your kids, but you don't miss them at all.
Yeah.
Because, the moment it is a choice between responsibility and love, you've decided ki I'd rather do without.
It's too much trouble.
It's too much trouble.
Because does Anu have any expectations of the father? There's always so much
No.
focus on the mother.
Yeah.
But here, even the father has failed his kids a bit. He doesn't really fight to
he has
see
failed
them.
his kids, definitely. And also, I feel that, he's scared of Nayan.
As he should be, yeah. I mean,
So
He's like
he
not
doesn't
he's
want to,
half the
like
man
he
she
says,
is.
what will your mother think? That's one of the
Yeah.
things that, I don't want all that rancor and I don't
Yeah.
want to fight. And
Yeah.
so it's just escaping responsibility in all ways. And I don't want to take that
Yeah.
tension,
It's like dudes who are like, I don't like
Yeah.
the drama, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, give
I
me
don't
some
like the
space.
drama. I don't like the negativity. And
Yeah,
I don't like the...
Like Nayan's mother-in-law, okay, she loves her grandchildren. You
Yeah,
can
she
tell.
does.
She does. But she's also resentful. And, when she has that massive blow up in the evening that Nayan is being celebrated and she's in the kitchen, she is very pointedly yelling for the guests to
Yes,
hear
of
that,
course.
she's a great writer,
Yeah.
but her house is a mess, she can't cook, and she wouldn't stop writing even if one of her
Yes.
kids is dying.
Yeah.
If you're a child and you're watching this push-pull between two powerful women, okay,
And women you love.
and women you love, how does that affect Anu?
Anu, in the beginning, actually is that way quite protective of her mother.
Yes, she is.
She's a good kid.
Yeah.
She's looking after her younger brother. She says, "Okay, don't disturb, she's like that. So, if they stayed in that situation, she would have been Nayan's great ally. Actually,
Yes.
if things had not panned out the way they did later, where I think that breaking away was something that Anu just hated.
Yeah,
breaking
yeah.
away from that comfort zone.
Right. Because she also, the thing with that is what happens is when you're Nayan's child,
Yeah.
okay, you're not allowed to be a child.
Yes.
But if there's a
Yes.
grandmother, then you
Yeah.
can go back some days and be a child. Then I'll be the fake adult. Then I'll be the
Yes.
child.
Right.
Basically,
so you
what-
have both,
yeah,
best
what-
of both worlds.
What Nayan did was she took away that moment of
The
allowing
childhood
yes.
element, because all of us, I think, however much we now can choose whether we want to go to the kitchen or whether we want to write or whether we want to do other things that we want to do. In our childhood, our grannies, our mothers, they have provided us so much in terms of the love that they pour into the kitchen and the things that they make. And that has been a very important part of the beautiful childhoods that we've had.
Yeah, somebody said, no, you don't remember incidents, you remember a feeling.
Yes, yeah.
So it's you may not even see the mother, but you can hear her.
Yes, Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that is the thing where you are a child. And if you are
Yes.
responsible for the mother,
And you
then
are
not
still a child.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm still a child with my mom, and
Correct.
she's still kind of, when I go to her house, she'll make something special for me. So it's
Yeah.
like,
It's amazing.
that. So that Nan is not that kind of mother.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to say that, uh, okay, that's okay. But she has so many other facets
Right.
that
Right.
are so good.
Of course, of course.
You know?
But for Anu, to have these two extreme influences would actually make her, I would think, a much more calm person growing up. She is,
Yeah.
there is a thing that the child who has to grow up too early
Yeah.
reacts like how Anu
Yeah,
does, always a
yeah,
little angry.
yeah. Yeah.
That emotional outburst never gets over. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. So I feel that
Her
watching these two
rebellion
women,
ends only, I think, after Nayan passes away,
Yeah.
or at around that time. Otherwise, till then, she's just
yeah, she's still that little, she's still that 8-year-old girl
yeah,
being
yeah.
teased.
Every
and-
time she comes in front of Nayan, it's always the 8-year-old or a 14-year-old girl
Yeah.
who's reacting.
आई आपके चेहरे पे मक्खी बैठी है और आप उसे उड़ा नहीं सकते.
Okay, Anu and Masha. Okay, straight up serious question. Does Masha have daddy issues? Okay, not in the way some people do and make terrible
Yeah.
films. Because the word normal family, okay,
Yeah.
just gets thrown around like an accusation. Not just in this
Right.
movie, matlab
Yeah,
everywhere. We are a
yeah.
normal family. We are not a normal family.
Yeah.
And Masha has gotten married to someone who's not just different from her mother and grandmother. She's chosen almost a different way of life.
Yeah.
ये क्या कर रही हो?
वीडियो कॉल है ना, मम्मी जी कभी कभी दीपक के फोन से फोन करती है. जय श्री कृष्ण मम्मी जी.
A friend and I, we were just having a conversation, you and I as well, that we've tried to raise our children in such a compassionate way
Yeah.
that we think it's impossible for them to do anything rebellious now. Like, yeah, theek hai, we'll accept whatever it is. So if you're like an arty person, like we were talking about, like
Right.
writers and all,
Yeah.
you hope your kid rebels and becomes like an oligarch who doesn't
Yeah.
pay tax and all of that. Like, amazing. But actually, they're just sitting in their house and vaping
Yeah,
and listening to
yeah.
some shitty music. So is this Masha's rebellion? And is she going to ruin her own equilibrium in the long run?
In the
by
long run,
rebelling
she's
against her
definitely
mother?
going to lose her equilibrium.
Yes, no?
When she's faced with a child, and if it's a daughter, definitely.
Yeah,
Because her daughter will definitely question her about the patriarchy in the family.
yeah.
That, I wish I was born my grandmother's
Yeah. that's
child
right.
and not yours.
And also, you can't run away from your upbringing.
No,
If
you
can,
can't.
you can rebel max 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Just listen to us very carefully, children, if you all are listening. 2-3 years, and your upbringing comes back to you.
Yeah,
Your
it does.
belief systems make it easy for you to live
Yeah.
your life that way.
I
So
think
you
she's
can't
chosen a
fake
very
it.
difficult life,
Yeah.
Masha. It's going to be comfortable only for a few years.
Right.
After which is going to be terribly uncomfortable.
It's claustrophobic.
Unless, Masha, I think, internally believes in the power of love and gentleness.
Bless.
She inherently believes that. And so she has this feeling that, this loving family and this joint family and this is going to be great for the kids. But in a few years, she'll realize how toxic that
Could be.
niceness can also be.
Yeah. Because also,
that
see,
pressure.
Anu is the way she is because Nayan didn't give her that kind of
Yeah.
umbrella.
Yeah.
And you can tell that Anu has been Masha's umbrella.
Yeah,
she has made sure she's her
absolutely.
raincoat.
She's loved.
And so that allows Masha to be softer.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct?
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe Masha will be the person who changes that family
Yeah,
as
maybe
well.
Masha exactly has chosen this not only because she feels that this man who I have chosen is a very steady man. The people in patriarchal homes are very steady and they will never, want to go in for anything unconventional.
Okay.
So in terms of a family life with the kids, and if you want your kids to be part of something which is very secure,
Right.
then you would definitely want that kind of situation, where your kids are well looked after
Yeah.
and have a lot of people who might, if one doesn't give love, there's another, there's a third.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
kind of thing. So Masha is, in the Hum Aapke Hain Kaun space, actually. She's seen Hum Aapke Hain Kaun and loved it.
Yes.
She is dreaming of that kind where everybody is kind to everybody.
Yeah.
And, so what if you have to, just kind of take
Cover
a
your
ghungat?
head or do
for a few
yeah,
minutes. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
And no matter how liberated we are, our expectations of our mothers, no, are the last shreds of the patriarchy within us.
That's true.
right.
Yeah.
And I want to know, like, is there a sense of glee for Anu here, or is it a cautionary tale for herself? Like, remember, guys can be like this. And, tell me, like, this whole thing, this watching her mother's romantic relationships with her father and with that guy, the photographer, Vikram, and with Raina, does it change who Anu is in terms of a potential partner?
It does. I think it does, because she knows that, like she says that, I just use men like basically for my sexual needs.
Yeah.
So there's no permanence. She does not see a single person giving her that permanence. She's never even looked for it in her own life. And so she knows that, men have to be looked at in a temporary way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so of course it has definitely been formed by her mother's relationships.
Right.
That a mother who's so, a woman who's so accomplished.
Right.
And still can't hold a man.
Yeah.
तो मतलब मर्दों को चाहिए क्या? Nobody knows.
What do men want? They're so difficult and mysterious.
I mean, it's usually people say na that what do women want and what do... but what do men want, yaar? And if it is only sex, or is it only temporary romance, and then once you get out of that romance, then it's such a bore. If relationships are looked at in that sense, then apart from a very conventional marriage where you just kind of live with each other forever and ever, because you're in a conventional marriage, simple.
Yeah.
So you don't expect that, these should accompany that as
Correct.
well.
Yeah, that's fair.
But otherwise, if you're a person like Anu, who can and have various relationships, who doesn't in any case want certificates from society.
that has been
she's a
proven.
good, virtuous woman. No, I'm not. So actually, it's liberating for her, because she can actually truly have the choice of man that she wants.
And she doesn't have to like temper her life.
No.
The way her mother did. Except her mother did it one way and she's doing it another
and her
way.
mother
She's
had
daughter.
that kind of impression of herself. That's why she was so hurt with Raina.
Yeah.
That she felt that I'm perfect. Like, I'm a perfect companion to you intellectually, every which way.
Yeah.
And you still don't want permanence with me.
Yeah.
You're still looking out for other people.
Yeah, no, and that can be seen
And
as some
it's-
sort of a rejection as well.
It is.
And for a child to witness that, that can really put you off.
Exactly.
Because here is on paper the perfect companionship.
Yeah. And even that hasn't really
but they
worked.
don't. Yeah. Then we'll talk about, the passing of the baton from the parent to the child. It's very poignant. That moment when Anu must help Nayan.
Yes.
Like she has to turn her over.
Yeah.
Again, like something in I felt something.
Yeah.
And, there's the act of physically touching and caring for an elderly parent. Of course, the body is the body.
Right.
But suddenly, the hand of the child has become the hand of the carer.
Yes.
And you're shifting who cares for whom. You're
Right.
taking the torch of vitality from the older generation and now it's yours.
Yeah.
And you know that when you have it in your hand, that means
Yeah.
you get to pass it on.
Yeah,
There's a sense of
exactly.
your own
The
mortality.
sense,
It's not just
that
your parents'
comes, it
mortality.
hits you.
And if you've had a tough relationship with them, it's really fraught. And you can see
Right.
it's breaking Anu.
Yes.
She thought she's made of steel, but you can't
Yes.
fake compassion. And that's the thing, you have come back to this mother in the storm.
Yes.
Like, as she's doing that, what is she going through mentally?
Right,
Is she thinking of
right.
all the what ifs?
She is actually, for the first time, hit by Nayan's vulnerability.
Yeah.
So that makes her vulnerable.
Yeah.
She can actually express her vulnerability in two ways. A, because she realizes that this, this person who I have constantly been against through my life is suddenly so helpless that today, if I decide not to help her, she can't do a thing.
Yeah.
That Nayan would hate to see herself in that situation also.
Yes, I think that was,
That-
you
that is
you're
what-
so aware of this invincible
exactly.
mother
Yeah.
who has battled her whole life, like
Yeah.
lying over there. It's a very heavy moment.
Hmm.
You need a vulnerability to get into a relationship. You need to be
Yeah.
able to trust.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
in the passing of Nayan, I feel that Anu makes her peace with this mother in any kind of mother in
Yeah.
a storm.
Yeah.
And is that the key that releases her? Is that like to forgive our mothers?
Yeah.
is to also like forgive ourselves.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that the journey ahead for Anu is going to be more fulfilling
Yeah.
in a way, because she'll find people to love in a way which she has never even thought of
Yeah.
or wanted.
And to approach life with more gentleness
Yeah,
means
definitely.
it'll mirror back to
Yeah,
you as well.
yeah. And with a sense of responsibility that I have to be there for my Masha. Definitely.
Yeah.
You know.
'Cause she's a moron.
Yeah. She needs me.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, definitely her relationships, even with men, I'm sure are going to be better. Because if you'll have better relationships with anybody, if you have a better relationship with yourself, I
Made
think.
peace with.
And yeah.
Well, that's beautiful then. So then, I guess there would be like a Tribhanga 2 then situation going on at some point of time. I'm interested. I'm
Yeah.
very interested in women.
You know, I have thought
doing
of that.
Really?
Should I? I was toying with the idea whether to write it or whether to write it as a novel. You know, rather
You could
than
just do that, right? Like, chalo, we'll just get you a room of your own.
Lovely.
We'll sort it out. Okay, Renuka, this has been really fun. Thank you very much. And like, I really feel quite like changed by this movie and by talking to you.
Thank
It
you.
was very
Thank you.
nice.
That's really nice to hear. Hi, this is Renuka Shahane, and I've had the best conversation with the Swaddle about my film Tribhanga. So tune in to the Best Part podcast and subscribe to the Swaddle.